Our goal is to provide higher quality medical care faster and at lower costs. This means we want to create a more economically viable medical organization that's able to solve medical problems and provide higher quality medical care that serves the patients that we're entrusted with. We can accomplish this by focusing on closing gaps in clinical workflows and on providing analytics. And we can utilize HL7 interfaces to accomplish this. Now, HL7 is short for Health Level 7, which is an international organization that defines the standards that medical computer systems use to communicate with one another. And an interface is essentially a translator. This means that an interface defines how apps talk with each other, and because they're apps, they talk with data, and an interface basically allows apps to exchange data that's structured in a specific way. So an illustration on top might make this a little easier. You can see two groups of computers, and I'm highlighting on left App 1, which has its own user group and its own internal data structure, and App A on right, which I'm highlighting in orange, also has its own internal data structure, which is different from App 1, and it's got its own user group, but they might be using data related to the same patients, and so they may need to exchange data between each other. And in their present form, what's highlighted in blue and orange, they can't, because they both have different data structures internally. So I'm highlighting in yellow HL7 interfaces that are incorporated into each of these apps. And an HL7 interface enables the apps to exchange data that's structured in HL7 format so that the two apps are able to talk with each other. Now on the right, I just created a box that says inside the interface, and it tells you what's actually going on inside the interface. There are two main things. First, what happens, I just highlighted the blue arrow that says translate HL7 to app. And what happens is data that is received from elsewhere in HL7 format is translated from that HL7 format into the app's local data structure. That's the first major thing that the interface does. And the second major thing that the interface does, I'm highlighting in yellow now. It says translate app to HL7. And that means it takes data from the app's local unique data structure and translates it into HL7 format so that that HL7 structured data can be sent out to other apps. And these two functions define inbound data transfer and outbound data transfer. So an HL7 interface can be built up from many different components. Some examples are messages, version 2 and version 3 messages, clinical document architectures, fast healthcare interoperability resources, or FHIR, and others. And in the real world, the HL7 interface doesn't just let two apps communicate with each other, like App 1 and App A here. Instead, it lets an app communicate with any other app in the world that also has a compatible HL7 interface. So for example, if we want to solve a particular medical or business problem by building a new HL7 interface, it's actually very easy. It's a straightforward process, and we can add some logic or algorithms to the database, to the app that enable work to be done on the database that we connect to this interface. And essentially what algorithms are they're complex collections of logic that enable you to do more sophisticated things. And we can let users interface with the new data and the new functions that are being added. And we can also let other systems interface with the algorithm so that the algorithms can even control other systems or collect data from other systems. And altogether, adding a new HL7 interface with some new logic to it enables us to do some things that weren't available beforehand, so that we're able to provide higher quality medical care faster and at lower cost by solving specific problems that close gaps in clinical workflows and that provide analytics. Now, this doesn't exist in a vacuum. We've got other videos that explain other parts of the big picture, how you define the problems, and what are the effective, most lean way, most economical way of creating the solutions. So, for example, on our website, healthprocesspartners.com, we've got a video called Finding Gaps in Medical Organizations that shows how you identify the problems you'd like to solve. And we've got a video called Agile Healthcare Management, which describes the process by which you can very economically create new HL7 interfaces and add logic to them to solve medical problems on an incremental, lean basis economically.